far as trying to whittle our team down to 28 competitors. 28 competitors on the men's side, 28 on the women's side, and you guys will find out the answer to those questions tomorrow when the entries come out.
Did the performance of the 4x1 on Friday make that easier or harder?
Harder because we had so many pieces there for the 4x1. If you look at it, that B team ran really well as well, which shows that some of those football guys are starting to become rested up from their spring ball experience. So definitely made it harder.
Are there any events that you're really excited to see up in Seattle?
Absolutely, all of them. Because it's going to take all of them to crown a Pac-12 champion. And these meets often come down to not those 1, 2, 3 positions, which of course those help, but those positions in 6, 7, and 8.
Is that what makes picking 28 even harder?
Absolutely.
Trying to find those 6, 7, 8?
Absolutely. Like when I talked to you guys last week, we had 38 guys, and they were from 8th all the way to 12th on the current rankings list. So being able to pick and choose those are definitely difficult.
10 straight men's titles, 7 straight women's titles, I think is what it is. What stands out to you from this run of excellence for you guys?
The funny thing about it is I've probably been here for every last one of those.
So you're the key.
No, well, no, I wouldn't go that far. We stand out. What stands out? We just go in there and control the things that we can control. Try not to get too far ahead of ourselves. Try not to overshoot. Try not to be too ambitious because, of course, we have to move on to some races and competitions after that, which our programs is kind of centered around.
How big is it for you guys to already have 14 points after the multis?
That's fantastic. That is fantastic. That has been one of the traditions of our program. We've always had strong multis groups for all the years that I've been here, and that continues this year. And so for us to get started off with 14 points, I feel like we're almost cheating to a degree.
Have you guys ever been up to that new track?
It was my first time. It was my first time. I know some of our distance coaches, Andy and Marisa, go out there and do cool downs and warm ups before some of those indoor races that they have at Dempsey. But me personally, I have no reason to go out there in February and January and February. So it was my first time up there this past weekend for the multis.
Is there any in track and field? Is there any sense to going to a track that you've never seen before, going to one that you have seen before, advantages, disadvantages?
Absolutely. We often do some things like that indoors. If you look at some of the history indoors, we often go to the site of the Indoor National Championship. This year was the first year that we did not do that. As far as going to Alabama, we couldn't fit that into our schedules. But for the most part, we definitely love to go there and get a scene of where we are, the lay of the land. I think that's what takes away a little bit of the home field advantage when we have the outdoor championships here, because teams have been here a number of years. You ask your athletes, where are you going to eat? I know where I'm going to eat. And where are you going to sleep? You know where you're going to sleep. Well, how long does it take to get to the track? You know how long it takes to get to the track. So all those things takes the unknowns out of the equations.
How many events is Jasmine doing this year?
Oh gosh, if I had it up to her, she'd be doing all of them that she did last year.
What about Edward? Is he in the 10,000? And if so, is it just trying to get him a qualifying time in this race?
Of course, that's always the plan, is to get a qualifying time, but even more so would be to win a Pac-12 title. We try not to get ahead of ourselves, like you heard me just say, but first and foremost is to get a Pac-12 title there at in the 10,000.
Last year, Marcus had his big breakout moment at the Pac-12s. What has he shown you in the years since that, as far as improvement goes?
A little delayed in his improvement a little bit. He got a little sick there, which hampered him a little bit indoors, and so we had to do some things a little different. And I think he's sort of kind of over and recovering from that, and just now getting to form as far as what we've been doing here in practice for the last couple of weeks.
So do you think he's like in a similar position going into Pac-12 this year as he was last year when he was trying to have that breakthrough?
Yeah, if you look at some of the races that he's run last year, he's run just a smidgen faster in some of his earlier season races last year than he has this year. It'd be interesting to see how it all plays out.
He talked the other night about how the first year and a half was kind of a struggle for him as he got used to doing the practicing and all the reps and everything, and it was frustrating. Were you seeing the progress though, even though maybe he wasn't at the time?
Yeah, Marcus was one of the top quarter milers coming out of the country, out of Tacoma. And so, of course, I knew his prowess and knew what he was capable of doing. But I think if you look at maybe not all, but most 99% of the freshmen that come here, they go through that transitional period. And it's not only in track and field, it's in all the sports. And then sooner or later, they kind of get their legs under them. There's just so many differences from collegiate track to a high school track. You know, they have 2 or 3 meets a week where we may not have one for 2 or 3 weeks. And so you have to have the mindset that you have to run those type efforts, those dual meet and those city meet, league meets, and those type efforts in practice. And so once you grasp those concepts, it makes training a lot easier.